Coming up on this episode of the Mike's Mets podcast, the Mets seem to be finally looking towards winning baseball games again. Great to see. The offense is starting to cook, and better late than ever. And the Mets pitching actually put together a good performance, minus one person, but a tremendous win tonight. Let's get into it. Roll the music. Welcome to Mike's Mets podcast. I'm your host, Mike Peixoto. Hope everyone had a wonderful night watching tonight's game. New York Mets trounce the Philadelphia Phillies 13-3. Just an absolute beatdown. And this was a series that has enormous implications for the next few weeks of the 2025 baseball season. The Mets are currently down. They are still down quite a bit, even after the win tonight against the Phillies. They're 6 games back currently in the NL East, and a loss in the series opener would have made their playoff hopes look a lot like would have put them definitely behind the ball, and I don't know if it would have necessarily taken them out for good of the NL East race, but definitely wouldn't have been a strong start to the series. And this was a legitimate beatdown, and coming in a game that looked like it might have been a potential pitcher's duel, and at least it did for the first 4 innings. But Phillies' Christopher Sanchez was on the mound. He is a legitimate Cy Young case to be made, particularly with Zach Wheeler going down earlier this year, and the knowledge that with Wheeler out for the remainder of the year, it's good for Sanchez, not good for the Phillies, who lose their ace. Kodai Senga has been trending downwards his last few starts. He's not going deep in the games. Nothing really changed. I've kind of reached the end of my point with Senga at this juncture in the season. This is where they really need him to start going deeper in the games, and him throwing 90-plus pitches in 4 innings, it's just not doing it. It's ridiculous that he cannot seem to figure out how to throw over the plate, and I don't know what he's doing. I don't know if he is simply not fully healthy, coming back from his injury earlier in the year, and he's just kind of struggling by. But his lack of command and consistency on the mound, he's just all over the place. You can see that with his pitches, and he just does not look like a legitimate ace starter. Definitely not the pitcher that we saw in the first couple of months of the season. He has definitely reverted back to the mean, and it's a problem. The Mets do not really have a legitimate ace right now, and it really does hurt them. But Senga, I've really reached the limit of my frustration with Senga at this point. I cannot pretend that he is in a place where it looks like he might be potentially starting to move forward. I don't see it. I literally do not see it coming from him anymore, and it's a problem. Like, they are in a funk in terms of pitching. The starting pitching is just not doing its job right now, outside of a couple of people, which David Pearson and Nolan McLean, and you can't be 2 of the 5, soon to be 6 starters of your pitching rotation who are just not really up to snuff right now. And Clay Holmes had a really good start the night before, or 2 nights before. I was really pleased to see Clay Holmes go deep in that game. It was definitely overdue, and they just need Senga and Manaea to kind of start pulling their weight now. Also, this is it's too much now at this point. Senga and Manaea should be the team's de facto 1 and 2 starters, and they are not pitching like 1 and 2 starters right now. I'm sorry for venting right there. I was trying to get into the recap of the game, but I can only deal with so much. I'm here right now. I need to be down here when it comes to Senga, and Senga's guys start doing. These guys start pulling his weight. It's ridiculous. So the Mets are that was quite a rant. So the Mets would go down earlier in this game, down 3-0, trailing. They with Christopher Sanchez on the mound, it looked like that was that. And I'll admit, after a certain going into the fourth inning, I figured, okay, this is. If they don't start scoring right now, it might be done for them, because if they were going to try and mount any kind of comeback with Sanchez on the mound, it was going to have to. I didn't see it coming. I figured it was going to have to come later in the game if they were going to kind of maintain. Maintain that gap and try lessen that gap right there, and it didn't look good for, I gotta admit, for a good portion of this game. But the comeback starts in the fourth inning. They score 3 runs to tie the game, and pleasantly, not just one home run to do it. It was a sustained, methodical attack that wore down Sanchez. This is very much what we saw in Atlanta, except for not quite as many home runs as they were hitting in Atlanta at the launching pad. But this was as I said, a very balanced attack that started with Juan Soto coming through with a RBI single, smoking a pitch through at 105 exit velocity, 105 miles an hour of exit velocity. This was the rally. This was the start of an absolute onslaught of a rally, and the Mets just kept up the pressure. They added another run in the fifth, 2 more in the sixth, and all of a sudden you got 6-3 lead. The Phillies defense, which has been pretty sharp all season, I have to admit, like the Phillies not really known for their defense or for their defense. They were really starting to crack under the pressure. They commit 2 costly errors that helped really fuel the Mets rally right then and there. And then what started as a competitive game was just very quickly becoming a complete beat down for the visitors. And but the moment that really sealed the deal, surprisingly, came in the 7th inning when Mr. Luis Torrens steps up to the plate. And Torrens, not known for his power, he comes into this game with a low batting average, not slugging particularly high, I think below 350, and he crushes an 86-mile-an-hour slider from Jordan Romano, sending a 3-run blast deep right into right center field, and it was quite a shot. It really exploded Citi Field. It was an amazing moment for the Mets, who once again this was it was probably the statement shot of the night. And usually when there's like that statement shot, that's when the Mets offense will kind of like will come to a halt. They won't be like trying to add on. They're not tacking on runs usually. That was not the case. The swing didn't just add to the score. It really just kind of like broke it out even further. So from 10-3, he comes through. Huge night for Torrens. He went 3 for 5, scored 2 runs, double, drives in 5 runners, all batting from the 9th hole. And it should be noted that the bottom of the Mets order really went to work in this game. They just kept coming up with big hit after big hit. The 6, 7, 8, 9 hitters combined for I believe the majority of the Mets offense here. I think 9 or 10 of the Mets runs were all scored from the 6 through 9 hitters, and that's exactly what you want to see. And it's been largely fueled through Mark Vientos, who's on this super hot streak right now. He is. It seems to be coming through consistently over and over again with an RBI hit, clutch hitting, clutch power hitting, very much needed from Vientos. And this is exactly what they needed at the exact point in the season. They really needed Vientos to sort of flip the switch, figure out what he was doing wrong, and make the correction. And finally, he seems to be doing it, because we have seen Mark Vientos look like 2024 Mark Vientos, not 2025 Mark Vientos. I think he's matched his home runs and RBIs from the first half of the season, and we're only like 30 games into the second half of 2025. So that's just an incredible performance from Vientos. This is they put a lot of hope on Vientos being developing into a middle of the order slugger. He really let them down. There was legitimate trade talk, and I would not have really wept too hard if Vientos was shipped out of here at the trade deadline. He has, in the last week, really picked it up, and this is exactly what they needed at the exact right time. So as I mentioned, after Torrance's home run, the Mets didn't let up. They would pile on some more runs in the 7th and 8th innings. Final score ended up being 13-3. And the bullpen also deserves a lot of credit. Again, I will say, Kodai Senga, completely useless in this game. I mean, not completely useless. That would be a little unkind. He pitched 4 innings at least. But once again, really let your team down here. And if I sound frustrated and short, it's because I am frustrated and short with Kodai Senga. I cannot deal with this anymore. He has to start pitching better. Okay, once again, so the bullpen deserves a lot of credit here. As much as the Mets offense beat the ever-loving hell out of the Phillies pitching staff, this was a tremendous job by the relief corps, led by, well, really not led by anybody. Everybody really kind of got their moment in here. Jose Castillo came back. Jose Castillo recently called back up, would come in and pitch the 5th inning. And from that point on, it was a collection of the Mets relievers. We see Taylor Rogers, Ryan Helsley, and Ryan Stanek would finish it off in the 9th inning. And this was important to see the Mets bullpen pull this one off. Like against the Phillies, who are a team that has been definitely riding high as of late, even with the injury for Zach Wheeler. They feel very confident in their starting pitching. Christopher Sanchez, this game notwithstanding, has been terrific the entire year. They've been getting great stuff from Ranger Suarez, and it's just everything's been working out very well for the Philadelphia Phillies. And this was certainly a surprising moment where the offense to see, if you're a Phillies fan, to see the Philadelphia Phillies offense just kind of crater like it did in this game was surprising, considering the Mets bullpen has not been very strong as of late. But to watch your team go up 3-0 and then allow 13 unanswered runs, that's a pretty shocking moment, and I certainly was not expecting. I don't think a lot of Met fans who showed up tonight were had on their bingo card, oh well, the Mets offense is going to score 13 unanswered runs. It was absolutely surprising, and again, a total team effort. This wasn't just one person coming through. It was Tyrone Taylor, Jeff McNeil, Mark Vientos, all having multi-hit games, highlighting what has been some great depth from them and some great synergy from the Mets offense. When it's firing all cylinders, it really does look like a completely different unit. Even with Francisco Lindor going 0-for-6, and it feels like if it's not one thing, it's another thing. If it's like eight out of the 9 hitters on the team are doing great, it's always someone else, and it's always like Francisco Lindor, or it's always a Juan Soto or Pete Alonso, and they can't all be good at the same time. It's just this relentless frustration with this offense. But going back to the Mets victory, more than just a single game right now. This was from a strategic and psychological standpoint, this was a statement moment for them. They really needed to win this game. It cuts into the Phillies division lead, but more importantly, arguably, this was a much-needed morale boost to a Mets team that is fighting for its playoff life right now. That's not an exaggeration. This is a team that has floundered. That might be a little harsh, but clearly things have gone kind of upside down for the Mets. After an extremely hot start, they are just kind of fighting to stay above 500 now. And for the Phillies, this is one loss won't derail their season, but dropping the series could be a substantial blow. Not to mention losing your ace, Zach Wheeler, to a season-ending injury when you're in the middle of a division race. That does, that can be something that can harm them psychologically as well. So it's a lopsided route. I was great to see it. This is something the Mets desperately needed. They'll have to show that they can continue to strive forward and build off of this. What I felt was just like a completely demoralizing victory over the Phillies, and it keeps their postseason hopes alive, at least for now. They did it with a very powerful show of force that proves this team is not going out, is not giving up on the season. They're not going out quietly. They still have some life left in them, and I'm very encouraged and intrigued by the offensive push that they've given over the last 3 games. That's desperately what they have needed to show off. They needed some life to be shown from an offense that has far too often looked lifeless, and they are starting to. If we're to believe that this is sort of the way to go going forward, if they can build off this momentum and start to look like the team that we expect them to be, a team that looks much more like the team from the first 2 months of the season, it's going to mean some very exciting games in August and September for the Mets. And we're in the final push right now of the year. They really need the pitchers to step up. They need Kodai Senga to step up. I really cannot strongly state enough. Senga cannot be doing this anymore. It can't be happening. He cannot be going 4 innings and throwing 90 plus pitches. It's ridiculous. It's not professional. It is the opposite of what you expect as a starting pitcher with Senga's repertoire and talent and ability and experience to be doing for them. And he just can't. It cannot be done right now. He cannot be this inefficient on the mound. And if he's going to be like that, then they just they're going to have to figure something else out. They have to put him in the bullpen, or they have to call up Jonah Tong. I don't know what their move is from this point on, but if Kodai Senga continues to screw them over like this, it's just they got. It's a wrap on them. They cannot keep having him out there, particularly if they're going into the postseason and they're going to be counting on games from Senga where he's got to give him at least 5 solid innings. It can't happen. You cannot be blowing it for them in a critical division game where this was not necessarily a bust win, but it needed to happen. They needed to win the game, and Kodai Senga completely just fell on his face. And I'll say this: at least he didn't he didn't put them in a hole, or at least a particularly deep hole. But this was not what you want from the guy who was essentially supposed to be your ace. This is absolutely ridiculous, and it's continuing to confirm more and more that the ace ship, if that's a term, I don't think so, but if the ace ship has moved on from Senga and potentially also Manaea, who I'm also frustrated with at this juncture in the season. Both pitchers are just not really giving their best, or if they are giving their best, then this is just terrible. Your best is not good enough. I'm sorry, and it is completely passed over to David Peterson and Noel McLean, and as crazy as it seems, with a guy who only has 2 career starts, Noel McLean looks far more like the number 2 pitcher on the staff than Kodai Senga or Sean Manaea. That's absolutely ridiculous, and I can't believe I'm saying it. But Noel McLean, I've in a very short amount of time, I feel far more confident with on the mound than I do either Kodai Senga or Sean Manaea, and that's an incredible statement to make. But I stand by it completely because it is 1,000% true. I have no confidence in either of those pitchers. I feel a world of confidence behind Noel McLean, and I'm sure Nolan will have a rough game coming up. It's bound to happen eventually, and when it does, I'm just hopeful that he can not take it too bad, and it won't hurt him too much. But when it does happen, I'm sure, and it will happen, I'm just hoping it won't happen in the postseason and in a potentially clinching game. But I feel very confident in comparing Nolan McLean to a young Matt Harvey, and it's not a comparison I make lightly. He does seem to have the moxie, the confidence that Harvey did, that bulldog mentality, and this incredible poise for a guy who is, again, just two starts into his career. He has this crazy poise on the mound. I would if you didn't tell somebody that this was his second start when he was pitching in Atlanta, you would assume that he had made, that he was a seasoned veteran at that point, and it's incredible that ability, not only, but the confidence that he has. It's otherworldly. It has to be said. these are going to be some big games to be played tomorrow and Wednesday against the Phillies, and I'm hoping that the Mets City Field faithful continue to come out and support this team where they are in the middle of a great push, and if they can kind of keep this momentum going, they may be able to shrink this lead in the NL East a little bit more. So here's hoping. Keep showing up and supporting this team, and I continue to hope that we've kind of turned a corner on this season, that they're starting to look more and more like the Mets that we saw in the beginning of the year. Thank you for listening to Mike's Mets Podcast. If you haven't already, please follow us on Spotify and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Leave a like and a comment. It helps so much. Finally, please follow our Twitter and Blue Sky pages. You can find us at Twitter at Mike's Mets Pod, all one word, and on Blue Sky at Mike's Mets Podcast.bsky.social. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day or evening, and let's go Mets.